Great. Thank you so much for joining us on yet another session of Shenthesis, choosing this, or synthesis. Today I'm sitting with a woman who is at the intersection of builders, communication, and project management, correct?
Yes.
I'm sitting with Beth Wanjiru Okoth, or as she'll introduce herself later so that we can learn a bit of how you want to be identified.
Of course, yeah.
Right, but we're talking about machine learning. I'm sure you're very familiar with that. And of course, our conversations are centered on artificial intelligence. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Shenthesis platform. We are glad to have you, and thank you so much for creating time to come and share your knowledge and how you're creating impact within the AI space.
Thank you.
Karibu
My pleasure.
sana.
My pleasure.
Great. So let's begin with what you do. You're talking about machine learning. You're talking about communicating between the builders and executors. Could you tell us more?
Yes. My name is Wanjiru Okoth, and what I do right now is that I'm a program manager in an AI enablement firm. And what we have are the different players there. We have our clients who are the ones who are executing on these machine learning models. They're the ones building the autonomous vehicle software. They're the ones who are doing all of these cool, amazing things out there in the world. And then we have our team who are helping to actually build the data engines that process and create the models that we have to work on. And the people who are actually doing the work of the nitty-gritties of helping us train those machines, basically by processing data that is used to train the models. So I sit somewhere in the middle there where I help to translate what the client's vision is to our team who has to execute on the work, sometimes to our engineers who have to help figure out the technical aspects of exactly how that work is supposed to flow and be done, and then just manage that whole process for a number of different clients who are at different stages in their journey.
Okay, great. Let's break that down a little bit, what machine learning is. I know it's not a very unfamiliar term to some, but to most it probably is. Yeah. So we've heard about self-drive vehicles, for instance. We've heard about robotics. Could you give us just a little bit more so that we can have a perfect understanding of what machine learning is?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence, actually under artificial narrow intelligence. We were trying to teach computers, a machine, how to make certain decisions and execute. And it uses data in order to be able to do that. So I like to use the example of a child, for example. Baby is born, has never seen anything in their life. And then you introduce them to something new. You introduce them to an umbrella. You show them one umbrella, you show them two umbrellas, you show them 49 umbrellas. And then one day they see an umbrella out in the wild and they're going to recognize, oh, that's an umbrella based on the 49 pictures and images of umbrellas that you've shown them. Machine learning is very similar. You keep introducing data to this software, this system, it starts to recognize patterns. And eventually, when you take away the stimulus that you've been using, the data that you have synthesized or collected and presented, and it actually sees something out there on its own, it can recognize what it is that it's seeing and then use that to make certain decisions. So if it's autonomous vehicles, for example, self-driving cars, if it has recognized enough photos of roads, enough photos of people, enough photos of trees and so on, when you then present it to the real world scenario where it's out on the road driving and it sees a tree, it will be able to recognize that is a tree and not a human being because of all the training that it has undergone up until that point.
And when it sees a person crossing, it will be able to tell that if, in the case of self-drive vehicles, it's able to stop, maybe at a zebra crossing because it's seen that over and over?
Exactly. If that is what you have programmed it to do, because now you've told it that's a person, then you've also trained it on what are the actions to take. So it will stop or it will slow down so that the individual can pass whatever decision, or even maybe try to go around it, because if it's a stationary object, then it will make a decision based on what you have input into it.
Okay, over time, is the machine independent on itself once it has all the data? is it independent, or in the case still of a self-drive vehicle, is there someone behind the scenes controlling everything, or now it can independently execute?
It can independently execute. That's the whole point of the artificial intelligence. So what will sometimes happen is that if it encounters a scenario that is unusual, it has never seen this before, it might have to require a human, we call it a human in the loop, to come in and give it an input to be able to handle this scenario that it hasn't encountered before. A weird example could be, maybe where this autonomous vehicle has been trained on, or the data it has been trained on, it has never seen an animal crossing the road. It's never seen a zebra, let's say. So it'll look at it and think, okay, that's not a tree, that's not a human being, and that's not a car. What do I do with that information? So there will probably be then a loop that requests for a human to come in and say, what do I do in this scenario? And then in that case, it'll make the decision. Right now, in fact, because of how sensitive autonomous vehicles are, it's really life or death.
Yeah.
So often there will be a human in the car with the system that is driving, and they can step in to make those decisions. So it's not sending this information to I don't know, a call center in India or something like that. There'll be somebody sitting there who can take over just in case.
If I go to America today, because we do not have the systems here in Kenya yet, right? If I went to America today and I order a self-drive cab,
yes.
I don't think I'll be able to step in because I'm not even familiar with the American roads.
That's true.
They drive on the left-hand side, we drive on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
So then where is this human on the loop? Because I can't be that human.
Then in that case, that particular model has been designed that it can send the information back to somebody else in headquarters, let's say, or somebody who's sitting somewhere behind a computer.
So they are ready to interfere.
Yes, they can interfere. Yes. So there's an alert that can be sent, as an alarm that you yourself can set off. If you get into an accident, for example, or something happens, you can probably just send back some information, and then they'll be able to take an action for you on your behalf. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. You're serving a global, from a global purview.
Yes.
Where is Kenya in all this? Because when we talk machine learning, we're talking about self-drive vehicles, we're talking about robotics. Where is Kenya in all this? Are we anywhere in this space yet?
We are not in perhaps something like self-driving cars. Part of the reason why it works so well in other countries is just the way that the infrastructure is set up. Some of the cities are so precisely designed. You have grids, for example, for roads rather than curving, windy roads. So it means it's a lot easier for a system to be able to travel down this straight line, understand that if I take this, then this is what I'm going to encounter. The laws are maybe a bit more robust. Like it's a lot more predictable, I would say.
Yeah, we'll have to deal with
matatu culture. Exactly. Yeah, that is way too unpredictable. When you add too many humans into the mix and so on, yes, it can really stress our system, and it'll take us longer to train. So there are some things that we are not yet there on, but Kenya as an AI hub is really coming up. There's so many different organizations, especially around the NLP field, who are coming up with AI agents, who are coming up with softwares that help to educate children. So many different ways that we are also innovating in this particular space.
And we have to recognize that we have those different branches of AI. Yes. Right now, machine learning is just a branch.
Yes.
But we also have generative AI.
Yes.
So when it comes to Kenya's milestones in the artificial intelligence space, which one are we really tapping on? Whether it's through organizations, whether it's through individual innovators, where are we?
It's rather broad, I would say. And the thing with AI is that it's the buzzword right now. Everybody's talking about it. Whether or not they understand fully what it means or whether or not they're using it in the right way is one thing. But I would say that we are still at the grassroots of experimenting with all of the different ones. So Gen AI, definitely anything to do with NLP, agents. I mean, if you've ever interacted with a bank or and then you're using your WhatsApp and then you have a system that is answering you automatically, all those things have been created here. So we do have a lot of that going on.
And sometimes I feel like we actually are using AI. It's been here for such a long time,
Yeah.
but we don't recognize that this is actually an AI generated system.
Until about a few years ago when it became the buzzword and we're all like, all right, yeah, I mean Siri is AI, right? Every time you say, hey Siri, get me to work on time, or hey Siri, remind me something, or even Google Maps, the fact that it can pinpoint that the most efficient route to take you from your home to your children's school, for example, is this one because you'll avoid traffic here. That's a form of AI. So we have been using it for a very long time.
Right.
Yeah. So in my particular space, like which is around machine learning, where Kenya is that we're an amazing workforce because we have good language skills, we have good infrastructure, our internet is excellent. So it means that we have the labor that is able to train all of these models. And so we form the backbone for a lot of the AI work that is going on out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hear you. What you've said, it's very important because we have the workforce, we have the labor, we have all these amazing minds, which you're one of. It means we can actually build these systems locally.
Yeah.
Why can't we? Earlier you mentioned that probably our roads aren't right, or maybe when human beings are involved, it becomes a bit chaotic. But doesn't it narrow down to something a little bit more? Because if you wanted to develop these systems, these structures, if you wanted to have machine learning here and build the infrastructure for self-drive vehicles, for robotics, wouldn't we do it?
We could, and I think that there's opportunity for it, but the blockers might be diverse between the costs involved, because to work on these massive amounts of data sets, it's very expensive. The clients that we have in the US have to outsource their labor here because it's more affordable for them. But the cost that they are incurring where they are is pretty huge as well. And they have a lot of funding that is set up for them to be able to do that. So it works for them in that sense. Now, where we could potentially do it is maybe self-driving cars is not for us. Maybe not at this moment until we have figured out all those other things. But they're doing great things in farming, where they're using drones, for example, to be able to...
Precision farming and the like.
Exactly, yeah. So we're already doing it.
Yeah.
It's just that our focus is not on the ones that are flashy, but maybe they mean a lot more for our industry when we think about it from that perspective. So precision farming is great. I know that if I could generalize now and go out to, let's say, Rwanda, they're using drones to deliver medication to people. And so that's another thing that we could potentially even explore and have done here.
Great.
Yeah, so the opportunities are there. The right minds are there as well. And we could, with the right investment, with the right investment in terms of money, but also in terms of the skill set, be able to do all these things ourselves. Yeah.
And if we look at the gender, female, the women, how would you rate their contribution within the AI space? You're one of them, and you're even managing at a global scale. I've spoken to someone else who's doing that as well, which means women are quite capable. This platform is solely about women, so that means any conversation that we have here are most likely going to be a conversation with a woman. And these are female innovators, female thought leaders within this space. Could you tell us the potential that women have within innovation, within technology?
So what I've noticed recently is that we have a lot more women in STEM, which is the foundation, I guess, for all of this.
Absolutely, it is.
And so the potential is massive. I mean, I just encourage women to try it out, to pursue it and pursue it seriously. But to be honest, when I look at the networks that I have, when I look at the different organizations that I'm a part of, women are playing a very big role. They're the engineers, they're the product managers. They are in every single team that we have. In different facets, even if it's communication, even if it's being a project manager like I am, or deep into the tech and into the coding, they are playing a very big role already in this particular space, and they can do even more because it's not limited to any one gender or any other. And the wonderful thing about it is it's also not necessarily very physical, it's very intellectual as well, which means that that's one barrier that's a little bit less. So I would say that the opportunities are there. They are very friendly towards our gender being able to take them on. They are very diverse as well. So from different walks of life, from different disciplines, there is space. Yeah.
Well, why would you? What would you say about women being left behind every other time? Because from what you've just said, women are all over the place in this space as well, right?
Yeah.
But when we talk about technology, when we talk about now this branch, artificial intelligence, we only see men. My last guest here even went as far as telling me or asking me what are the colors when you look at artificial intelligence, what colors are dominant? And it's masculine colors.
Yes.
Why is that? When throughout history, from the time artificial intelligence was founded, was established, women have been there from the very inception. Why are women only behind the scenes?
That's the thing. That's I think where we need to push ourselves and we need to grow. Women are behind the scenes. We are doing the work at the ground level. We are the engineers, we are whatever. But the leaders of these organizations, the people who are sitting in the boardrooms and so on, women are not represented as much there. And that's where we need to step in. I don't have the research to support this, but my intuitive understanding is that the women who are there now, this is when they're starting on the journey of STEM. This is when, they finish their courses and everything. So they're still growing into that space because people like me, when I was studying, I told you I have a background in engineering. At that point, we were 4 women in a class of 36. The rest of them were all men.
And that hasn't quite changed to date.
It hasn't, but it's improving, to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot the women are beginning to step more into these kinds of roles and into these kind of jobs. So it hasn't changed very much, but it is changing. The thing is, though, we're still very early in that. And so these women are coming and they're at the point where they're still in some junior roles. They're not yet at the senior levels or the senior roles. So there's opportunity for them to go in and be the change makers and to be the decision makers. And I guess the challenge is to ask women out there to step into those leadership opportunities and guide this.
I'd like to circle back into what you are, what you've been from your mechanical engineering background. Of course, still tying it to what we have just discussed. It's a male-dominated world, but you studied and you even practiced. Could you tell us about your experience as a female mechanic, female engineer?
It was rather interesting. The theory of it wasn't difficult, I would say, because by the time I got accepted to study engineering and mechanical engineering, I knew I was pretty smart. I did great on physics, I did great in math, and so the classroom work was easy. But then one of my first experiences in school, I was one of 4 women, like I mentioned, but I was the only one from Nairobi at the time. And the gentlemen who were in class with me somehow couldn't believe that I was there. It was almost like I was a token, like I don't know, like I was sponsored to be there somehow, like they had earned their place, but I not so much. So I remember them telling me that they would invite me for their graduations when they graduated because they didn't think I would make it to graduation at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the rest of my 5 years there were a lot of, really? Okay, you're sure this is what you want to do? Even when I'd go for internships or workshops, I wouldn't be the first person that they expected to be able to solve a problem or handle something. I worked at an industry where we needed to do welding inside a really big silo. And the first person that they'd called, we were 2 of us who came from my school who were doing our internships there. And anytime a mechanical issue came up, the first person they would call would be the gentleman. I don't know why. It just default. They'd think, he can probably handle it. Let her rest. Let her sit in the office and do paperwork and so on. But then I quickly proved myself to be actually the best welder there. At some point, I would be the one that called by default. So I remember hanging from a rope in the middle of this really dark silo with like my gloves and whatever, and I'm welding and repairing this huge thing.
Yeah.
And thinking, how did I even get here? And why did they think I couldn't do it? Surely, you know?
Why did they think I couldn't do it?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I was like, I mean, there's no reason when you look at the two of us, they had not tested us, they had not seen any of our experience for them to come to that decision. They just assumed because
But
I was a
didn't you-
woman, I
didn't-
wouldn't handle.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
didn't you know that it's because you were a woman that they thought you couldn't handle it?
Of course, not only was I a woman, I was a little girl. I was small.
You were
I was
tiny.
short, and then I'm from Nairobi also, so
Yeah.
I have the accent. I just look like I'm a babu. How are you even here? How did you get into this place?
Hey.
Yes, but I eventually proved myself, and then they'd call me up to be able to handle every single time that there was a breakdown and I needed to do welding. It would be me. So I had to step out of that assumption and I had to prove myself to an extent to be able to do that. Same thing happened in the garage. They'd look at me, they'd be like, okay, maybe she knows the owner's son. I don't know how she got here,
wow.
but maybe, but eventually they saw that I could do it. And they'd give me tougher and more challenging jobs. And I was motivated to learn. I was excited about it because for me, this was a passion for me. I didn't do it because I was the village champion and I was sent to go do engineering. It's the course that everybody does. I actually loved it.
And you already had an affinity for all of it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So I enjoyed it and I was good at it for the duration of time that I practiced it. And then when I left, the skills that I have learned or I picked up from there are useful for me even today. And so it has been helpful, gotten me where I am. But I would encourage more people to do it, honestly. It was so amazing and fulfilling. And those are some of the best days of my life, honestly. Yeah.
Wow. Nice. I think we've come to the end of this session.
Okay.
But now I just want you to compound. What do you think is the impact you've thrown into the world? How have you impacted this world? How have you impacted people? How have you impacted Kenya or Africa as a whole, as a woman in the AI space?
That's a very heavy question. I would say that one, my actual personality is that whatever I do, I'm motivated by what it does for the people. So even the organization that I work for, the reason I'm there is because the kind of jobs that we're able to create are helping somebody somewhere who would otherwise not have had that opportunity or that access. I started off like that. I started off as a part-time contractor as well, working in my house. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and I needed to earn a little bit of extra income. And so I would do these jobs and I'd get paid, and it would be enough for me to do my groceries, to buy a little something. A lot of the people that we employ right now are in a similar space. They're students, they're trying to earn something on the side to augment, their lives, basically. And so I get excited about being able to give that to people. At the same time, it's that Kenya and the work that we've been doing has far-reaching effects to the whole world. The fact that we've trained some of the most utilized tools and models out there, all of that came from here. Like these brains, the people that we have here who are really, really talented, just perhaps have not gotten the opportunity. They've been the foundation for moving the world forward in the AI space. It's something that excites me every single day. So when I see on TV cars driving themselves, and I'm like, we did that.
Yeah?
It was us. Yeah. So when they're talking about these great innovations that they've made and so on, I'm like, yes, on our backs, we helped you to get to that point. We're the ones who did that. In the medical space, people are looking at x-rays of lungs. They're looking at germs and viruses and using AI to help them diagnose diseases and so on. We were a foundational part of that. It thrills me to no end to know that I have played a part in bringing that to life. And what I would hope for the future is for us not to be so far down in that value chain where it's not even recognized the impact that we had, that we start to build these systems ourselves in Kenya more and more. We start to bring things to the world rather than just be the vehicle for them, I would say. Yeah.
I think my take home from that is that we are actually part of the modern world, the developments around the world, but we don't even credit ourselves for it,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Remote tax, that is one of the organizations that does this, right? And
Yes.
they get a lot of labor
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah.
And that is just one.
Yeah,
right?
they're not actually still active in Kenya, but there's quite a few. In fact, recently there's a new alliance that was created that's called the Outsourcing Alliance of Kenya, and it brings those companies together under one umbrella, because what they're trying to do is to create a unit that can advocate together, so that we are not operating as individual companies, because then you'd never hear of a Remo Tasks or, a Cloud Factory or whatever. They'd be operating by themselves. Now, when they come in as a unit, then they're able to leverage and even market our skills out there, position ourselves in the global marketplace and say, Kenya, we are here. Kenya, we have the talent. Kenya, we can do this. And this is what it takes, advocating to the government, lobbying for different policies that will then support and help us to sit a little better in that space out there. Yeah.
And I agree with you, especially when you said that we are contributing to the global AI space. And even now, there's a whole buzz within the AI. Innovators are coming out right now and, telling the world, this is what I do. Thought leaders are coming out and telling you that, you know what, if you don't know this, this is how it's done. Yeah. These are the various tools you can use. So people are already putting themselves out there, and I think that's really great.
It is.
So that when we do this and the world moves forward, we are not left behind because we were part of building that world, that future, right?
That's correct.
Thank you so much for coming to the show. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And she's a great woman, intelligent, brilliant, a builder. Are you a thought leader as well?
I'd like to say so. Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, we've come to the end of it, and I hope you've gotten quite a bit on machine learning as well, and the conversation around artificial intelligence and women who are building within this space continues right here on Shenthesis. My name is Awere Dongo. Until next time, goodbye. Bye.